90% of people that I work with or am about to start working with, so we're having our first call, our first consultation, which is talking about the situation, the history of pain and everything, come to me with a list of MRIs, X-rays, CT scans, literally anything, right? And the first thing I tell them is, I don't want to see it. Please don't, right? And let me explain why. So people that I work with have tried pretty much everything, like literally everything. Every single doctor, at least they went to 5 different specialists, spent thousands on different scans, trying to really understand the root cause of the issue, of the pain. Doing all these diagnostics, speaking to different people, again, going to another scan, right? And they still end up with me, who's not a doctor, not a physiotherapist. I don't read scans, right? I don't do body assessments or any sort of thing that you might think like, oh, I am going to diagnose you and then find the real root cause, what's really wrong with your joint or your muscles, and then I'm going to find a treatment plan for it, right? And don't take my word for it, but it just doesn't work, because if all these scans and all these diagnostic tools would work, well, clearly they wouldn't be in this place. They wouldn't be working with me. And I always tell them, because they're quite skeptical, right? That's why I say no to a lot of people that want to work with me, because I really value that mindset or even open-mindedness, if that makes sense. If someone is really fixated over like, I need another scan, tell me what this paper is saying, then I'm like, sorry, I can't help you with that. You can go to another specialist and pay another 5K for it, This is not what we do here, and this is not how I get people out of chronic pain after 10 or 15 years, right? Anyway, I always ask them this question. If you've been doing this your whole time, right? So you've been going from one specialist to another, one person to another, from one scan to another, trying to really find that root cause, like what's really wrong structurally, maybe in your body. Would you be on this call with me? Simple question, right? And it really gets people thinking, and maybe it will make you think a little bit as well about your approach and how you should be approaching your pain, your life, any sort of problem that you have to solve in this life, right? And once again, people that I work with are very good problem solvers, they're business leaders, so they either entrepreneurs, consultants, tax planners, engineers, they know how to solve problems. 99% of them, right? They know how to solve everything and how to help everyone but themselves, but their body, right? Because this industry is unfortunately so, again, fixated over just tell me what's wrong with me and what to do about it, and that's it, right? So you want a problem, let's say, I don't know, you have hernia, right? Herniated disc. And this is what you have to do. End of story. 3 weeks, done. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that, right? Because I know I'm repeating myself, but I work with people, only who have tried pretty much everything. 3 times. Each thing 3 times. So I just want you to stop here and ask yourself this one simple question, right? If you really want to solve your chronic pain, and you actually want to not just solve chronic pain, because you see how I use the solution kind of word? No. If you really want to build trust in your own body, if you want to have autonomy over your body, control over your body, you don't want to rely on me. You don't want to rely on your physiotherapist. You don't want to rely on doctors and everything, okay? Because clearly it just doesn't work, right? It maybe works in a very short period of time, right? You get this like 1 exercise, 2 exercises, you get massage, foam rolling, whatever, like 3 weeks while you're feeling better. Next month, you're back in square one, right? So I want you to ask yourself that question. if this is what you have been doing for years, like pretty much your whole life, do you think if you look for a better person with a better, I don't know, certifications, papers, something, before their name or something, do you think this is exactly what you need? Do you really, really believe that this is going to solve your problem? If you go to a better specialist who is going to give you another solution to your problem, or maybe they're going to come up with a different problem, right? Or maybe you should actually just change something within yourself. Think about, do like a little analysis, like an assessment, but not of your just physical body, but about what's going on in here. How do you approach every problem at work? And then how do you approach that chronic pain, right? When you I don't know, in a meeting or something, and there's a, I don't know, something wrong with cash flow, whatever, you come up with it, right? Like come up with something. Something is not going on, something is not working in the business, right? Do you think if you book another meeting with the same people and you're just going to talk about that issue, whatever that is, right? Do you think that's going to solve it? I don't think so, right? There's steps that you have to take after the first meeting and before the next one, right? There's steps that you have to take to make sure that this meeting is even worth it, right? So ask yourself, if you've been doing the same thing again and again and again, so going from one person to another and not really learning throughout this whole process, and you feel like they have control, you don't have control over your body, and you have to rely on them, right? Why haven't you changed anything in this pattern? And maybe let me give you an example of my client. So I was in a call with them yesterday, and we've been working together for 6 and a bit months, right? And he came to me with full body chronic pain, like literally full body, from ankles to heads pretty much. Very severe back, hip, groin pain, okay? He's very active, he's a business owner, he's an architect, a 3D architect, running his own business. So very busy, you can imagine, right? But very active, very fit, very strong, right? And he comes to me and says, okay, this is my issues, right? This is the problem. These are the solutions that he could think of what we should do about it, right? And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's start, first of all, let's assess how you can isolate certain parts of your body. Can you move segmentally? Can you move as a whole? Can you rotate where the pain is coming from and everything, right? So we've been taking all these little steps, of my method, movement mastery method, by the way. You can probably read more about it in the description or visit my Instagram. I talk a lot about it there. If you want to find any free resources and use it in your own time. Anyway, so we've been doing that for like 4 or 5 months, right? Assessing his body, training, and having a lot of conversations, right? But we were kind of hitting the wall because we were constantly in this mindset of, I need better exercises, or I need more focus on this, I need more focus on that, right? And I think it got to month 5 and I was like, Felix, we have to talk, right? Because this is not really going where I want it to go, right? And I literally said, I'm not going to give you anything anymore because I want you to stop and really try to understand what we have been doing for this whole time of us working together, let's say 5 months, right? And he was like, but no, I need to train, I need more exercises, workouts, whatever. I was like, no, you don't, because you're constantly relying on me, right? And you're constantly looking for another solution, right? Obviously he's in chronic pain, so I can't tell him oh, you're not in pain, this is easy, because this is awful. It's not really about pain, it's about being frustrated, being, scared to move, to work, because you don't know what's going to happen when you get up the next morning or you finish your meeting and you have to stand up, right? You don't know what's gonna crack, right, and hurt. So I'm not talking about that, right? But I told him, I'm giving you a week and come back to me with, obviously I didn't say like literally a list or something, but we have to slightly shift our perspective on this, you know, and we have to do it now. Usually it takes time, right? So I don't tell people like, oh, you just shift your perspective, right? Because it's a long process, but we really sat down, and ever since we have been just talking about his recovery, his approach to life, stress management, work, how he's doing, you know, in his own work, when he goes travel, like how his body is responding to different factors, different stimuli, right? We stop really thinking about like doing any sort of workouts. Like obviously that's really, really important. You can't really sit and manifest, oh, this is gonna come to me and I'm gonna be pain-free. But if I'm being completely honest with you, it will help, you know? It will help when you stop and you start doing a lot of internal work. When you finally start looking for answers that you've had this whole time, but you were so focused on just like, fix it right now, right? So he's not pain-free, right? I think we got to month 5 or 6 and we had seen like this much, I don't know if you can see it, this much of an improvement, right? Maybe he was a little bit less scared and maybe a little bit less stiff, right? But it's not where we wanted to be at the end of 6 months, right? And yet, month 6, and he tells me that my approach and my service, my coaching, is life-changing, right? And I'm like, I know, but tell me why, right? And we started talking about it, you know. I'm not going to go into like too many details, but we shifted our perspective on pain and he realized how important other things outside of training are, outside of this rehab plan, outside of these scans and everything is, right? Your mentality and your willingness to, maybe even in the first phase of working on yourself, it'll be worse because you uncover like, oh my God, I actually have way more pain. Now I know where this is coming from at least, right? And then you're learning throughout that process, right? Another example, I am working with a person who has severe neck and upper back pain, right? Like it's so awful that every single day, like she either has to take some muscle relaxants or anti-inflammatory drugs, pretty much anything to relieve that pain, right? Like ASAP, because it's so bad. And listen, we've been doing a lot of segmental control, a lot of, first of all, like just reconnecting with her body, you know, understanding where she is in space, where she moves, right? Like you lift your arm, like what's going on, right? Like, can you lift your arm without like, overcompensating everywhere else? What was the accent? That was so weird. I realized like sometimes I change accents, you know? Forgive me. And we had a really good call, as also yesterday. And she comes to me with a few questions. You know, we were talking about like how to actually engage your deep core, what's deep core, what's segmental control, why are we doing all of this, right? And then we just like talking about it. And most of the time, how I work with people, I ask them questions. So they ask me a question and I answer in a question as well, right? Because I want to give you autonomy. I want to teach you how to solve problems, right? How to approach that pain, right? Anyway, so I asked her a question, right? And then she got to a conclusion where she was like, Anya, I realized I'm slouching a lot, right? It's been like this, like a couple of days or weeks, right? She was like, and I'm asking, like, why? Why do you think that is, right? And first thing might be like, oh, my neck hurts, my upper back hurts, stiff back. I need to strengthen back or whatever. And I'm not saying that's like entirely a wrong thing to do, you know, but it's more about like why you would even go there, right? And what she said is, and then I realized like I'm kind of scared of my thoracic, so mid-back, the spine flaring up, because I remember I felt pain like a couple of months ago there, and then I started like moving weirdly to avoid it. And now it's flaring up again, that back pain. So I'm slouching here to protect the other area of my spine, right? You see what's happening here? I am not diagnosing. I am not giving people answers like, oh, you have tight hips and you have to strengthen your glute med and mid and everything. I know all of this, you know? Like I can write a book about it. Well, you can Google it. Pretty much, right? You know, like I open ChatGPT and be like, send a photo, oh, this is where it hurts, and this is, you know, what I'm doing about it. What do you think? What do you think the root cause is? My root cause probably isn't your root cause just yet, you know? My root cause is you being able to assess your body, being able to know exactly what's hurting, know exactly why it's hurting, and how to then approach it without anyone else's help. Because we have so much information, right? It's so easy to find anything about everything, you know? So if I tell you strengthen your glutes, I don't have to tell you how to strengthen your glutes because you can go and Google it, you know? Obviously you have to know how, why, how many times a week, but this is why I teach. And this is why I teach not by saying you owe 3 reps of 10 sets, okay? We start exactly where that client of mine was yesterday, right? I think I'm slouching because I'm afraid of my back, right? And that's like step number 1. And why this works, obviously I can send you, why this method works. Obviously I can send you like 10,000 testimonials, you know, you can even speak to my clients because they would be probably so happy to help you. But I don't think that's the point, right? Because obviously I'm going to send you a good testimonial, right? Like, come on. I want you to think about what this would give you, right? And I'm not talking about, oh, finally, I'm not going to have back pain. I want you to think about the control that you're going to have. I want you to think about the autonomy, the trust, and then what comes with it. Because I don't solve people's chronic pain. I help them rebuild trust, confidence. I want them to be free. Right? I hope this resonates. Let me know what you think in the comments, and please visit my Instagram when I share a lot of free value as well. And if you feel like this method sounds interesting, you know, I'm not saying that it would work for you because it won't work for everyone, right? Like I said in the beginning of this video, I work with a very specific group of people, right? But if you believe that it might and you want to know more, I have another video that explains that method exactly step by step, so you can follow it, you can try to apply it. But if you want to speak to me and you either want to work with me one-to-one, you know, some people want to have that one-to-one aspect, proximity with me, just DM me on Instagram, you know, either M or just anything, and I'm going to reach out and we can have a chat. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Please take notes, rewatch it again, and I'll see you in the next one.